You got a bird's nest in there? Smells like a compost pile.
Why are you doing Daniel Bryan like that, bro? The video just started. He already pissing me off, bro.
Absolutely hated. Number 1, Sheamus. Now, if you weren't a fan of Sheamus's
Sheamus did look stupid, to be fair.
You and Vince McMahon have so much in common. But Vince McMahon was instantly pissed when he saw the Celtic Warrior with a mohawk. According to Sheamus, the former WWE champion.
Now look, when I did originally see this, I was like, bro, what the fuck does Sheamus got on? Like, what is he doing? Why does he have a mohawk? Where's the rest of his hair at? Why did he decide to twist his beard up? Actually, if anything, I would say this helped him lean more into his character a little more as time went along. If you get what I mean, because he was a heel. He was injured. He came back from injury, and I want to say he attacked. Did he attack Dolph Ziggler or something like that? He attacked somebody after Mania or something, and he but the crowd was not having it. They was chanting, "You look stupid," all night long.
He felt that the gimmick was so outdated. So during this time off screen, Sheamus opted to get a mohawk. This is without getting any sort of permission from Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon has never been a fan of wrestlers changing their looks without his permission because he likes to micromanage every wrestler's brand image and persona. This ultimately came down to brand control and the standardization for sponsors and partners. Sheamus revealed this in an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he mentioned the great thing about that was I pissed the brass off on that one because I didn't ask for permission. I just didn't. I think I've been off with an injury and it just kind of felt stagnant. And I'd done that baby face. I was just like, I need something different and cool, right? So I did it, and I think Vince was pissed big time because I didn't tell him I was doing it.
No.
However, things went wrong very quickly with the look. As Sheamus mentioned,
I feel like it worked out though, bro. Still won the world title.
And I was going out, I looked badass, and I thought people are gonna go, this guy looks cool. I walked out, and then some bollocks in the audience started a "you look stupid" chant, and that was it. But despite Vince's hatred for Sheamus's mohawk, the WWE star actually leaned into the "you look stupid" chants, and his mohawk and beard became an important part of his character. Now, it's unknown whether Vince came to like the new look on Sheamus, but since he had it for nearly a year, we can imagine that he came to accept it.
Okay.
Number 2, Finn Balor. And you know what else Vince McMahon hates? Growing old. Throughout the 90s and 2000s, Vince's wrestlers couldn't age. If you had grey hair then, Just for Men was the popular brand of choice. Just ask 2011 Kevin Nash and 2015 Sting.
But there was I never noticed Finn had grey hairs.
Absolutely despised because he had a sprinkle
Why,
of
bro,
grey
look
hair.
like that? Y'all see this
Finn
guy?
Balor. The Judgment Day member himself recalled Vince talking about the issue with his salt and pepper look, and Finn revealed to Steve Ford of Wrestling News why it bothered Vinnie Mac so much. There's a couple of greys and Vince don't like the greys. Full disclosure. Vince says it makes me look older, so maybe I'll have to dye it in the future.
I never noticed that from
I've got
Finn.
a little salt and pepper look. My wife likes it. That's all that
But
matters.
granted, like, they probably been having Finn like dye it back in the day.
His own advice, as he's definitely disposed that bottle of Just
Look
for
at that
Men.
porn mustache.
Luckily for
I can't
Finn
say
and
that
many
on this
male
channel. My fault.
superstars
Look at
on
that
the
corn
roster,
mustache.
Triple H doesn't seem bothered with them showing some grey on television. It is yet to harm WWE's business, and it's doubtful that it'll be a catalyst for WWE's downfall if that ever happens. Number 3, Imposter Kane.
Okay.
Now, Vince McMahon loves imposter angles. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and The Undertaker all had a doppelganger trying to take over their careers at some point, but so did Kane. In 2006, Luke Gallows played the imposter who was originally set to take over as original Kane. However, the story was so...
I never knew, all these years, I never knew that was Gallows. Never knew that. That's breaking news to me. I never knew that was Gallows.
Kane versus Imposter Kane was so bad that the crowd chanted boring during their match at Vengeance 2006. However, that wasn't why the story ended so quickly. No, bad storytelling could never stop Vince McMahon. This was all due to a bad wig. Vince McMahon reportedly hated Imposter Kane's bad wig. Vince thought that the Imposter Kane made such a first bad impression.
Man, y'all should have threw some water on that bit, or like put some gel
during a Q&A at
some
Steel
shit
City
on
Con
that.
in 2021. So I'd gone down and seen Drew's outfit and stuff, and we kind of like worked a little bit together before he debuted as that down where NXT was at the time in Georgia, and he was wearing this wig. It was like a synthetic hair wig, and it was terrible. And I was like, I remember calling, I think, Johnny Laurinaitis or someone and saying, it's great, but the wig's gotta go, okay? Wig looks as fake as all get out. They didn't switch the wig, and he's on live TV with this frizzy hair, and Vince went ballistic. Not at him, but at the fact that the thing looked silly, and that was actually why the whole thing was ditched, because Vince thought it made such a terrible impression, and actually made Kane, my character, look bad, because here you have this person. You got this guy with a bad hair beating me up, basically. But you know, the Imposter Kane, you can tell that it was very poorly done. And despite Imposter Kane getting the win in their first and only match, the real Kane would chase away the Imposter the next night on Raw. Can't imagine what Vince was thinking when Triple H donned the wig during the Katie Vick angle. Mind you, at least that one didn't have so much volume. Number 4, Dolph Ziggler. And no other man on the roster had Dolph Ziggler's hair, which made him stand out from everyone else in WWE. But unfortunately for Ziggler, his dreamy beach blonde locks are one of the reasons Vince didn't find him as credible as a top star. Vince absolutely hated those locks, so Ziggler appeased the boss by getting a generic haircut that came with him dyeing his hair brown.
Oh, I remember that.
That didn't work whatsoever. Ziggler looked like another generic wrestler.
Wasn't that like 2012?
The dye only lasted for 3 weeks because even management didn't think that the new haircut looked good. Ziggler then went back to his original blonde locks, and though he would eventually win the world title, he was still never treated as a top star again. It's a damn shame that the guy who had the it factor,
one of the most underrated stars all time, bro. I don't care what nobody says.
Brunette. Maybe Ziggler should have dyed his hair red like Eva Marie instead. Number 5, Heath Slater. And speaking of haircuts, Heath Slater cut off his long red hair in 2015. As you can imagine, Vince was heated. But the thing about Slater was that WWE was barely...
Here's what I don't get about this nigga Vince, bro. He will literally not use people like Heath Slater. He literally will not use you. You will make a change and now he pissed off. What the fuck you mad for? They making the change so you can probably use them more or get some more TV time or something, bro. This dude Vince, bro.
Using him during this
let's
time.
Let's get through the video,
Slater
bro.
was primarily used as enhancement talent and thought the haircut would be harmless. But during his interview with WWE,
it doesn't hurt him at all.
His hair and recalled the better than expected reaction he got from Vince. Whilst he didn't get chewed out by Vince McMahon, he managed to get a warning. I just straight up told him, I said, Vince, I was done with the long hair and I had it for years. It's ran its course. I just want something different. I guess he understood. He was like, you ever do anything drastic like that again, you gotta let me know first. I said, yeah, totally sorry, my bad. Now, the haircut gave Slater a new lease on his career, as he got into the oddball tag team with Rhino that got over with the WWE crowd. Who knows what happened?
Those were the good times. The good times of SmackDown.
Number
now
6,
SmackDown ass.
Now what's worse than the boss hating your haircut? Well, how about your face and your whole physique? Unfortunately, that honor went to Christian. Now, Vince has always had an unreasonable hatred for Christian. The former WWE star was not known for being a troublemaker, and he was consistently popular throughout his entire WWE run. But Vince simply didn't like his face or his body. Why? Only Vince McMahon.
Why does that
answer.
matter?
But Jim Ross has talked about Vince's
like his
specific
face
hatred for Christian in the past, and he noted that Vince had an affinity for big, sweaty men. While that is well documented,
that's
it's
probably
also
why.
head scratching, because Christian's own partner Edge was not a big sweaty dude. Neither was Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, or even pre-super jacked Randy Orton. Vince's hatred for Christian's look went so far that Vince even had the idea of putting a blue dot over his face on television. And Ross even confirmed that this rumor was true. Yeah, it's real, it's stupid. How do you record that? He's gonna be moving. Can you move the blue dot, keep it over your face? I don't think so. It was just something Vince thought of. Number 7, Rusev.
It's not that deep.
Rusev
I swear it's not that
several
deep.
different looks throughout his career, but his first was partly in design of Vince's vision of what a foreign heel should be. Rusev was in his I Hate America phase, so he had the classic old school look where it felt that the former United States champion would feel right at home during the 80s or the 90s era WWE. But his look drastically changed when he cut his hair. Rusev mentioned in an interview with Real Talker that he didn't know why he cut his hair. I don't know why I cut my hair. I got so tired of it, and I feel like back before I cut it, nothing was going on in WWE. I was out for shoulder surgery, so I got tired of it. So I just cut my hair.
I'm telling you, bro.
Inspired my best decision ever.
If they're not going to use you right,
at the time that Vince
why does it
McMahon
matter?
was absolutely furious that Rusev had cut his hair without his permission. This was all down to Mattel, the official action figure distributor of WWE, spending a huge amount of money to get head scans from the superstars so that they can produce figures that look accurate. Rusev and Lana were set to have a double pack release where Rusev would still have long hair, which made the action figure already outdated by that time. But at least we got something out of it, and that was handsome Rusev. The gimmick didn't particularly last that long, but it was an interesting way for Rusev to pivot from the menacing foreign heel to the loving heartthrob. Number 8, John Cena. Can you believe that there was a time that Vince McMahon hated the look of John Cena? The biggest babyface of the last 20 years came extremely close to being fired in 2002. Bruce Pritchard recently shared a memorable anecdote about Vince McMahon's very first impression of John Cena, an encounter that initially sparked skepticism rather than excitement. Pritchard recalls that Cena, fresh off completing contract formalities and passing his drug test, caught McMahon's immediate attention during a backstage moment. Pritchard actually remembered Vince pointing straight at Cena and exclaiming, "Get that walking, talking steroid billboard out of our backstage." At first glance, Cena's ultra-muscular physique set off alarm bells for Vince, evoking his stock-standard steroid-enhancing image that clashed with expectations. It wasn't that Vince McMahon hadn't seen strong athletes before, but Cena embodied the hyper-ripped look so intensely that Vince assumed that he was on steroids. Pritchard actually pointed out that
Dang.
McMahon's reaction was the same one that everybody
I
made
couldn't.
when they saw John
I don't think
Cena.
Cena was ever on
However,
steroids,
once
was he?
Cena's drug test cleared him clean as a whistle,
Yeah.
McMahon's attitude began to shift. The revelation that Cena's physique was natural and not chemically enhanced helped dispel initial doubts. Over time, Cena's charisma, reliability, and dedication won McMahon over, laying the groundwork for Cena's legendary career. Number 9. Seth Rollins. Now, there's a reason why wrestlers barely wore white gear during the Vince McMahon era, because Vince just didn't like white wrestling attire. Now, there are various reasons that white gear is
somebody gonna shit on himself.
attire. It can stain easily.
Oh, I was
Isn't always gonna
joking.
be clean, and stains can rub right on it. But it sounds like the reasoning behind Vince's banning of white attire doesn't particularly have anything to do with safety or wrestling protocols. After all, Vince let Alberto Del Rio wear white consistently, and that's one thing that he's never gotten heat about. Vince hating white was a personal choice, at least in Seth Rollins' case. The current WWE World Heavyweight Champion is known for his interesting fashion sense. One of the more memorable attires that he ever wore was at the 2015 SummerSlam.
One of his best
where it was
attires,
white
bro.
and gold
The
gear,
white Power
and
Ranger.
Seth Rollins told a fan during one of his signings that the old man wouldn't let him wear it. Vince wouldn't let me wear it because he's a weird old man who doesn't understand that people think it's the coolest gear they've ever seen. Yeah, he doesn't get it. I get that question more than anything else. What does that mean? It's just huge, man. People love it. I think it's in the archive. I give it to our archivist guy. He puts it up at all the accesses and stuff. Now, it wouldn't be Seth's final time wearing white under Vince's rule, as he notably competed against Kevin Owens in white attire at WrestleMania 36.
Yeah, he
However,
did.
we may get one explanation as to why Vince McMahon hates white. It's number 10, Batista.
Batista
Batista
definitely
notably
wore
wore
white.
trunks
Did he
during
wear it
his
during the Hell in a
match
Cell?
against
Yep, there we
Triple
go.
H. And the white trunks really looked cool on Batista, and, well, let's be fair, they weren't white at the end of the match.
Nah.
In fact, the trunks enhanced the brutality of the match as it was stained blood red afterwards. However, there was one man who didn't like the trunks, and that was Vince McMahon, reportedly because he felt that Batista looked like he was wearing a diaper. This was something that Batista confirmed
It was
himself,
not
as
that
in an
bad.
Instagram story.
I swear it was
he
not that
mentioned
bad.
Vince hated the white. He said I looked like I was wearing a diaper. Now, if Vince was going to hate any of Dave's attire, then it should have been his all-blue one at Payback 2014. That attire should have never made it past the design stage.
That is going to be the 10 WWE wrestlers that Vince McMahon hated the look of. Look, bro, I feel like a lot of these up here, Vince definitely, he was overdoing it like he always does. But, you know, Vince going to be Vince at the end of the day. Appreciate y'all for tuning in time and time again. Road to 2,000 subscribers. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.